I'm Steph from iDriver Classic, and today this is a little bit noisier than usual because we are at the Long Road Festival in the Midlands in England. Now this one's slightly different for me because it's a country and western festival, and we've got cars, we've got vintage vibes to this and all sorts of things going on. Now I think the first place we're going to start at is the car show, so come with me and we'll take a look at the American vehicles on display. As many of you will know from my recent mishap in the F250 video where I got slant 6 and straight 6 mixed up because my notes were a little bit sketchy, my knowledge of American vehicles is very slim indeed. It's certainly not my area of specialism, but my goodness, I really do enjoy an American car show, which really was the main reason that I came here, because I do like a bit of country and western, and Fred and I love all that cowboy pastiche stuff. We think it's great. And we said, right, the biggest attraction for us is going to be the car show. And so we were very excited for this, and we thought, how many cars are going to be there? What's going to be there? But because we'd not really seen any pictures, our expectations were kind of minimal. We didn't really know what to expect. So when we turned up and we saw quite a neat selection of vehicles, some of which we'd never seen before, we were pretty chuffed indeed, because a lot of people like to go to a car show and they love to see a field smashed full of cars. But here's the thing, I personally would rather go to a show where there are fewer vehicles and you get to browse them and you get to fully immerse yourself in what you're seeing. Because as much as I love the Festival of the Unexceptional, and I really do, there are over 1,000 vehicles there. I think there are about 2,000 this year, which ends up being a situation where you just don't get to see everything. Whereas on this occasion, I got to absolutely obsess over a tractor with a twin exhaust, and I loved that. And I really wish the owner had been there, because I would have loved to have known how a tractor ended up here and how it ended up with that twin exhaust, because I'm not sure if that was standard. Now, speaking about standard and modified, this again is something really refreshing that you see at American car shows, is you see everybody welcomed in equal measure, whether your vehicle's rat rodded, whether it's highly modified and looks nothing like what the manufacturer intended, or whether it looks just like it did when it left the factory. Everybody is equally as welcome, and I think it's such a refreshing attitude that many car shows could take a little nod from. Now, another thing that this car show did really well within this event, number one, by the way, was it being on the flat, which meant that everybody could get around it and there was plenty of space around the vehicles, which meant that people with mobility scooters and pushchairs and all the rest of it could get around and look at things properly. But it also meant that you had plenty of room to just get great photographs, great imagery, and I really liked that, and you got to really take it all in. And of course, the mix of ages. Now, the mix of ages is a funny one, because I know for some people that'll be a bit off-putting, but for me, I like to see some of this more modern American stuff as well that we don't get over here, in the same way that I know that a lot of American people like to see a lot of the European stuff that they don't get that's modern over there, because it's just a bit of a taste of what you aren't expecting. Although for some of the bigger stuff, those wheels were so big, they were almost up to my hips, so I have no idea how they drive them in this country, and getting down our tiny little roads, it must be very, very nerve-wracking indeed, along with trying to park the things, because our modern parking spaces in the UK, if you didn't already know this, are still modelled on a Ford Anglia. That is what the original parking spaces were done on, and they're still doing it now. It is no wonder that you cannot fit a modern car in a parking space. It's just not set up for it. And also the Ford Anglia was what they used for it was like that era, that iteration of the highway code, all the stopping distances and everything were also done on a Ford Anglia. This is just one of those useless facts that's in my head, and is now in yours. Now, as we walk around, you'll see lots of things that you've perhaps only ever seen in films or television, or maybe on TikTok and Instagram, just like me. And so I was very, very excited indeed. And some of these people had come for miles. I was talking to somebody who'd driven over 100 miles, and they said, yeah, I'm only getting 10 miles per gallon. I thought, Wow, that is nuts. It must have cost you so much to get here. But also, I thought that was kind of cool because quite often people don't want to travel very far for car shows, whereas there was a lot of people here that were not only very game for chatting about their vehicles, no one really wanted to appear on camera because I would have liked to have asked a few people about their vehicles on camera. But they were very willing off camera to talk about their car and tell us where they got it from or how they maintained it. And a little bit like Ben from Tasty Classics was telling us that he uses Rock Auto, nearly everybody we spoke to gets everything sent over from Rock Auto. So if you are watching this and you've been hankering after an American vehicle and you're just thinking, oh, what am I going to do about the parts? Everybody sings the praise of Rock Auto and says that everything is there in under a week, which does mean that if your car breaks down one week, you can probably get it fixed for the show the next weekend. So in my opinion, that's pretty cool. Now this was my favourite, this Crown Vic. Now I don't know if I've spent too much time with Matt or it was the flashing lights, the donuts and all the police paraphernalia on board which won me over, but I thought that was a fun bit of kit. Now we're really coming to the end of the vehicles that are on display here, but fear not, because there is a lot more to be looking at the show and we're going to show you some of the neat bits and pieces. The one thing, sadly, that we aren't going to be able to show you from the Long Road Festival is the music. So we're not going to be able to show you the music that was playing from various speakers or artists on stage because YouTube doesn't like you showing that sort of thing. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to show you that bit. But you know what? We're going to show you everything else that's here today. And goodness me, I think you're going to find something you love. As many of you will know, bikes absolutely terrify me. However, my partner Freddie, who is often the man behind the camera, loves his bikes. He rides a Honda Grom almost every day. And so he said, Steph, we need to go and have a look at these bikes. And according to him, this was a fantastic selection of American bikes. And he really took to them. And what he quite liked was the decent mix of ages. And he felt it really gave a broad representation to the type of bikes that they have in America. He was zoning on some of those Harleys and special editions and some of the classic bikes as well. So it's quite nice to see, really. Looking at cars and asking unsuspecting owners really in-depth, detailed questions that they probably just weren't expecting to have answered meant that we ended up quite hungry. So we decided to head off and see what we could find. Now, usually the vegetarian options are 0 to none, but this one was actually quite good. And there was even a cooking demonstration, but it was all meat. And as someone who doesn't eat meat, it kind of made me feel a bit gross, but Fred really enjoyed it. And it might be something you would have enjoyed too, but they taught you all sorts of things, including how to cook pheasant. But really, this was the absolute show-winning piece. It's a 1946 fire truck that's been imported into the UK. Now, this is the only one in the UK, and they cook all their meat inside this truck. And I just thought it was a really cool bit of kit to have here. And it was obviously a winner because armed with lots of different choices where people were cooking out on open flames and all the rest of it, Fred said, no, this is the one I want. And that is another big thumbs up that I'll give this one, is that all the food that we saw was very fresh and didn't feel very processed. I keep thinking that we need to be going on holiday or some far-flung place to relax because we've been so busy with everything that's been going on. But actually all I needed to do was just come and sit around a fire pit and watch a Ferris wheel turn around in the background. So I'm just having a really lovely time. And I think one of the things I want to talk about actually is the vibe, because quite often when you go to events, you'll go and I hate to say it, you don't feel like your belongings are safe, or you feel like you're constantly on edge because you're having to check your pockets or check where your phone is or your purse. Whereas here, I've been really comfortable to hand my phone over for people to take photographs of us. There are loads of kids here, loads of dogs. And also, something I probably should say, is there's also a lot of people here with wheelchairs, walking sticks. So if you're watching this and thinking, I would love to go to that, but I can't go because I'm mobility impaired, I just want you to know that I don't know if you spotted all the people in the background. Obviously, I haven't made a point of filming them, but they are here. There are loads of people here that are using mobility aids and they're having a really great time and they're finding it very easy to get around. So what else have I got to show you? Because I'm just sitting here chilling by the fire. We've got the fairground. Now, you're about to witness something absolutely ridiculous because we've decided that we are going to go on the bucking bronco. But first of all, Fred's promised me that he's going to win us a prize. When Fred told me he was going to win me a prize, he didn't mention that every turn won a prize, but I was not ungrateful because I do like a little prize. However, I was hoping for one of the giant octopuses, but it did end up winning me a little teddy. Now come on, we're going to show you the best bit of the fairground. Well, when you're at a Wild West style event, what are you going to do apart from look at the old cars? You're going to go on the bucking bronco. Now I apologise because you're probably going to see a little bit more of me than you probably should, but I'm going to show you me on the bucking bronco and Freddie. And that's the kind of vibe here, that's what it's like. Come on, let's go on this. I thought years of horse riding might have given me a bit of an advantage on this one. However, I don't think I ever went horse riding in a mini skirt and a pair of tights. So this was all just a bit ridiculous. And I actually lasted a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. But as you can see, it wasn't very long. So then it was Fred's turn. Now Fred was cool as a cucumber and much better at this than I certainly was. And I tell you what, we had to go twice each. And on Fred's second go, he did much better actually on the style-wise. He looks better on this round. On the second round, he's concentrating so much he looks miserable. But he got the second highest score of the day. That is how well he did. Now, as you can see here, we were goading him to take his hat off and wave it round in the air. And as you can see, it also gets faster and more precarious as it goes, because the aim of the game is to get you kicked off the bull, which I always love these things. Anyway, watch, because we're just about to watch Freddie do a fall from grace. After falling off a bucking bronco a few times, eating a curry and browsing a very good American car show, we decided to go and watch some of the music. Now, what I really liked about this particular festival was each stage had its own almost atmosphere is the best word to describe it, and I'm trying to show you some of them here. And one of them you had to walk through the woods to get to, and so you had no idea, because the trees were so thick, as to what was going to await you on the other side. It just said follow this arrow, so we were there. And I also loved this little house that they'd set up, which actually was pumping smoke out at one point of the chimney. And then you've got your traditional main stage as well. And finally, after falling off a bull, we decided to go and do a bit of line dancing. And as you can see here, everybody was having the absolute time of their life. We did line dancing, barn dancing, and it was all free and included as well, with an instructor and a band that had come from the deep south. They'd been flown in and they were playing all their instruments, and honestly, it was one of the smallest but one of my favourite bits of the entire day. It was great. And that's a wrap on the Long Road Festival for 2024. We've had so much fun, and we've had even more fun sharing it with you, because we turned up today with really no expectations whatsoever, and we have really enjoyed ourselves. I think for me, my standout moments was probably doing the barn dancing. I love doing that, even though I ended up slipping over in the mud, which explains why I've got mud all over my knee. But it's just been so much fun. And you know what as well, is it's so rare nowadays to go to a festival and feel safe, feel like you can just pop your bag down with no problems whatsoever, and that has been one of the most enjoyable elements for me. I've been able to just switch off, chill out and relax. I really hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today. Tell me about your favourite car as well. I think my favourite is probably that Crown Vic, probably too much time spent with Matt rubbing off on me. But anyway, it's been such good fun. I've really enjoyed it. We'll definitely be back next year. But until next time, take care and drive safely.